Okay, this session will be recorded, so I started the recording session. So, okay, good morning to everybody, and welcome at lunch with NIC, a lunchtime webinar focused on the changes of a private non-profit organization that has been obliged to perform in order to perform changes in order to adapt to a constraint and rules due to the COVID-19 pandemic situation. This is Tony Ciccardi, a PMI volunteer that will introduce the webinar, the speaker, addressing also the debate in the Q&A session at the end. Before to start the event, I would like to give you some information on the webinar. If during the talk you have some question, you can write it in the question and answer box. So the speaker at the end of the webinar will try to give you the answer according to also with the remaining time, the time available that we have. So if and last issue before to finish, to end, if when your subscription to the webinar you have inserted your PMI ID, the PDU will be charged in your dashboard, personal dashboard, in 1 or 2 weeks by now. So now we can move to the webinar, introducing the Water Europe experience gained during the COVID-19 pandemic situation. All of us have changed our habits in the March 2020 when the virus appeared and its dramatic consequence, and all of us were obliged to adopt a new way of life. It happened to any people in the world, and it happened also to the organization that were all under risk attack of for its own survival. So we want to go in depth to understand how a non-profit private organization react to this situation, how this private organization as Water Europe react to this risk, and how they are continuing the day-by-day activity as long as the pandemic situation has been stabilized, is going to be overcome. We will do this with Andrea Rubini, that is the Director of Operation in Water Europe. So please, Andrea, go on. I leave you the floor. Okay, this is the Andrea biography. You can start. Thank you to Andrea, and so please.
Thank you so much, Tony, and thanks to all the participants today. And thank you for this great opportunity to be with you and provide you with a number of, some experience of what we had, what we went through during the period of the pandemic. This is not over, but then, the shock of 2020 was significant from many angles. But in order to give you an idea of what happens, I need to introduce to you Water Europe first. So what is Water Europe? And you'll find, there's something that looks like a mistake in English, but who are we? Yes, it's the acronyms of Water Europe, WE. It's European Water Technology Platform. In 2005, 2004, 2005, the European Commission started a process which was finalized in structuring the system for getting information in terms of priorities in research and innovation from the different sectors in Europe. So that's the reason for which a number of technology platforms were supported also financially by the European Commission, I'd say literally established by the European Commission, in order to get this information from the relevant sectors. And one of these technology platform was Water Europe, that at that time was called differently with something that is difficult to pronounce. It's WSSTP, which means the Water Supply Sanitation Technology Platform. Then we changed our name in 2019 as Water Europe. And what is Water Europe? It's the recognized voice of the water-related research and development and innovation in Europe. So at the end of the day, it's a lobbying organization. And what is important is that it's a multi-stakeholder organization, because you can see from on the right that we have 7 colleges. So one of the let's say of the important issue about Water Europe is that within Water Europe we have members that are belonging to the multinational corporations. I can mention like Veolia or Microsoft, up to the civil society organization. So it is really a multi-stakeholder lobbying organization in Europe for water, and is a value-based organization. Very quickly, we have a vision, and the vision focuses on 3 main areas: technologies, infrastructures, and governance of the water sector. And of course, I mean, there are a number of challenges that you might know, and I think that many of you are connecting from Italy, and you might know that in Northern Italy it doesn't rain since 3 months, which is, I mean, a problem in terms of water scarcity, and it is a common challenge, I mean, across Southern Europe. So this is a matter that concerns, I mean, the need for adapting to the climate change and extreme events that is becoming an overarching challenge across the water sector and beyond. We have a number of innovation areas. I'm going to stay here for a long time on this issue, but you can see on the right that the concept is based on multiple waters, digital water, the value in water, and the other green infrastructures. So basically, in terms of organization, Water Europe bases its activities on 3 main programs: the Advocacy Program, the Collaboration Program, and the Market Program, which are interconnected, however. They're not stand-alone programs. The Advocacy Program, as I mean, the name of the program can tell, it is supporting policy development about water and related sectors. The Collaboration Programs wants to put together the stakeholders of the water sector in order to address water challenges through research innovation and through the creation of successful consortia to respond to the call for proposal of research and innovation framework program that it is alternated in Europe every 7 years. Then last but not least is the Market Program, because we need to work on policy development to support the right allocation of resources for the water sector, but then we need to exploit what we have extracted from this project, from this intensive collaboration area and program, into marketable results. So it means that we support the market outreach, the scalability of the innovation. And this also makes, I mean, give you an idea also the matter that each and every program has at least one flagship event, which was, each of them, apart from the last one, Water Project Europe, was traditionally implemented in Brussels every year. So Water Innovation Europe, Water Knowledge Europe, Water Market Europe, up to March 2020. While Water Project Europe was an already, it was more already online. So actually, it was not one of the activities of Water Europe particularly affected by the pandemic, but all the others, yes, absolutely yes. And you can see that Water Innovation Europe implemented in June, Water Knowledge in November, Water Market in March every year. Let's keep for a while, I mean, this. And just to give you the complexity of Water Europe, Water Europe organizes its over 250 members in working groups and vision leadership teams. These are agile groups of think tank people that are, I mean, top level high-ranking officials of our organization, our member organization, working in 7 specific areas. And then these are their names and faces. And then we have 15 working groups with guys that works, with a bottom-up approach in order to support the development of research innovation in the water sector. Then this is, just a screen on the advocacy program, which is quite complex because the advocacy program targets, a number of institutions that is not just only the European Parliament. We have the European Commission, we have the other institution, the institution of the European Commission, and we go beyond that because, of course, we keep also under our, let's say, area of control in terms of relationship, the UN agencies and all the other strategical stakeholders of Water Europe, like Water Alliance, the EWA, the International Water Alliance, and so on. We also produce position papers because we support the policy development through position paper, which is something that requires a lot of dissemination. We deal with the water group of the European Parliament. We are the organizing body, managing body of this group. And we are, this is another point, as Water Europe, we are partner of around 20 research and innovation funded project by Horizon 2020 and Horizon Europe. So it means that being a partner in research innovation projects that are characterized by budget that never goes below 5 million euro, and most of the time is around 10, 15, 18 million euro, with a number of partners that goes from not less than 15 up to 40 as one of these projects. So you can see that these 3 programs then feed them in this Water Projects Europe, which is a kind of sum of the efforts in terms of policy development, collaboration program, and market uptake. Then we are involved in a large cross-cutting program, which is the Water-Oriented Living Labs, with and without projects that are supporting this program. And the Water-Oriented Living Labs is the right place where all the 3 programs can take place. So we develop in research, we support the transition between research and innovation. From innovation, we go to the market uptake in the same environment where we put together all the actors of the quadruple helix system. And we are also have, a dedicated partnership for the WASP, but we'll see it a bit later. This is the Secretariat of Water Europe. There's one person is missing here. So, but as you can see, we are 10, and the staff of Water Europe is made by 10 staff members. Now, what happens? 14th March 2020, closing of schools, discos, cafe, restaurants, and the cancellation of all public gatherings. 4 days later, and this is Belgium, 4 days later, we had the full lockdown in Brussels and in Belgium. As you can remember, lockdown in Europe were uneven in terms of scheduling. They didn't start all at once. There was let's say, quite a difficult situation in terms of coordination between the member states. The European Commission itself was not in an easy position, also because you might know that the pandemic affected also the national health systems, and the national health systems in Europe are not under the control of the direct support of the European Commission or the institution of the European Union. So apart from the panic, apart from the fear, apart from the instability created by the pandemic, there was also a matter of capacity of the member states and the European Union as such, to respond in an allied way, and it wasn't. So I still remember that the 14th of March, I remember my executive director coming out from his office and saying, Andrea, I'm going to close the office today. We have to close the office, and we have to cancel the upcoming Water Market Europe. We already have, I don't remember, but hundreds of participants. consider that is a fee. You have to pay a fee to participate to Water Market Europe. And Water Market Europe would have taken place 5 days later, on the 19th of March. And of course, we had also during these flagship events, we put together also the working groups. Traditionally, working groups over Europe meet at least 3 times per year. And these 3 times usually are back to these flagship events. So in June, in March, in June, and in November. So everything was completely changed in a while. I mean, let's say in 24 hours, even though we already smelled, I mean, we already felt that something was going really wrong. We're speaking, I remember that in early January, when we started having, I mean, the first signs of the pandemic entering Europe, I remember that I told to my wife, looking at the day and the evening news, I said, I'm afraid that we'll be really in big troubles if this thing lands here. And then it does. But I mean, sometimes forecasting it's a difficult kind of job. But when you feel things that are coming up, you realize that really you are not prepared to deal with this new situation. And we were not, because in few days we had to communicate to all the members, all the participants to Water Market Europe that the event was cancelled. We had, I mean, to start a system in order to refund all the participants. It would have been really unfair not to do that. And then we had to start, I mean, working with our plan, with our programs, with our activities from home. So we started working remotely on the 14th of March, and difficulties were evident. Connection was unsteady. These online platforms were working and not working. And then there was an issue that came up immediately about the remote leadership. We had no protocols for having the people working from home with the same kind of schedule we were used to being at the office. And then you can imagine also that at the end of the day, what was important to us and what is important to us is the external relationship. So it means that we deal daily with the European Commission, with the different DGs, with the executing agencies. We have hundreds, maybe I could say thousands of external stakeholders, which are in our ordinary schedule in terms of relationship and networking. So, and then what we had, the European Commission that at the end of 2019 just published the new 6 priorities for up to 2024, and then the COVID. The development of the Research and Innovation Program 2021-2027 was affected, delayed. So, I mean, I could write, I mean, 10, 20 slides on specific issues that we had to solve immediately, really immediately. And imagine also that we were in difficulties in dealing with some of the organizations, like the European Commission. The European Commission didn't accept Teams. They started accepting Zoom. And then after a few days, after a few weeks, they say, no, sorry, we cannot use Zoom any longer because they said, I mean, this is what they reported, because Zoom holds the majority of the servers in China, and we don't want to be spied from them. So the only thing that we could use for contacting the European Commission was either the mobile or WebEx. And we didn't have WebEx, so we had to start. So it was really a mess. So what we do, I mean, we had to find a remedy, we had to find a solution to this. And basically, this, I mean, let's say the critical point was the matter that there was no protocol for remote working in Water Europe. Even though it was, I mean, we are really a small group of people, but the smaller the group, the most important could be also that it is capable and resilient to respond to unpredictable situation, like this ones. Last but not least, on the 18th of March, I start feeling not that bad, not that good, sorry. On the 20th of March, I understood that I had the COVID. And then, I mean, I've been, and this happened also to somebody else from my staff, which also included the matter that I was not able to work any longer. So in a small workforce, having 2-3 people that are not working because they are sick represents, I mean, another challenge. What I remember is that I do not remember what happened to me for the first 1 week of when I was sick. And then I started coming back to real life after 7 days. And then I started being once again in touch with my colleagues and slowly going back to normality. That came, I mean, my normality came back after 4 weeks after the sickness. So what did we do at that time? So we created an internal protocol for online networking and working, and an cohesion system in order to keep up, to glue up the staff, even in such a difficult situation. For instance, just to give an example, we invented the espresso, the digital espresso. What is a digital espresso? Since April, the end of April, yes, 2020, we meet every day at 9 o'clock for 10 minutes, and we just speak a bit about what will be our day and what has been, I mean, something that happened to us, I mean, the day before, or it's going to happen on the same day, just, I mean, to be together, to stay together, because still some of the staff are not based in Brussels, and it's likely to happen that some of them will not be back to Brussels any longer. But these cohesion meetings, I mean, are very important because we meet every day, apart from Monday, because on Monday we have our team meeting. And also the team meeting changed because the team meeting, the weekly team meeting was a physical one, and then it turned into an online one. And it still remains as an online one, even though we are in the same office. A big problem was with the research and innovation projects, the running one and the future ones, because these projects were planned, designed to be implemented live, not online. So can you imagine, I mean, the demo sites, the practical research, the innovation activities, everything was completely changed. And I have to say that even though almost the project have been extended in terms of life, 6 months to 1 year, some of the activities are not implementable any longer. And this had also a tangible impact on the budget utilization and something more, a tangible impact also on the financing of the euro, because of course, a portion of our budget is based on project. If you can make, I mean, a proportion, 75% of the budget of the Europe depends on members' fee, 25% on the budget of the project. And if we don't get this money, of course, then we have to find it somewhere else. So all the events, all the flagship events and the other ones shift to online events up to November 2021, where last year, when we organized the first in-presence events after 2 years of online events. Now, we are slowly going back to normality. At the end of the month, we have another live event in Brussels. And then we are also doing other events somewhere else. But working groups meetings have been kept as in online because of the increased larger audience. So we said, okay, fine, there's a good opportunity. Let's have the working groups meeting online forever. And this, I mean, increases the participation by approximately 300% to the working groups. We have been able, however, to support the European Commission in the implementation of the new priorities 2019-2024. I just remind, I mean, the first two ones, I mean, the European Green Deal and the Europe Fit for the Digital Age. We have been supporting the European Commission and the other institutions, including the European Parliament, for the implementation, for the development of the new Horizon Europe framework program for research and innovation, running from 2021 to 2027. And we have been able to have, I mean, larger more important resources allocated, financial resources allocated for the water sector. So in terms of main results, what we got, it might sound strange, but we had 196 members at the beginning of 2020. We are now over 250. And it has been a continuous increase. So it means that Water Europe was attractive in bad times, and who joined us talked that, and he was, or she was right, that we could provide additional support in such difficult times. And this really happened. In the same period of time, we achieved 10 new research innovation projects. So between the end of 2019 and the early 2022, which is another extremely good indicator of the matter that we have been able to support the members, because projects, funded project by Horizon 2020, Horizon Europe are basically, we are in basically because of our members. So it means that, and with our support, so it means that we have been able to really, to create the opportunities through the European Commission to allocate resources, to tell this to our members, to have them collaborating in order to create consortia in which we are happy partners. Water Europe, at the same time, has been able to achieve even 2 new partnerships in Horizon Europe. One is called Process for Planet, which is about intensive energy and water industries to support the decarbonization of Europe, and the Water for All, which is itself, I mean, by its name, is a partnership dedicated to the water sector. And the budget, these 2 partnerships is 1.8 billion euro. So, what should we take from here? It's easy. Members with us get recognition. They develop business. They grow their influence. They can enlarge their network. They can build the water smart society. And last but not least, what is important, what happened? They had fun. And we also had fun, despite the COVID-19. So thank you very much for your attention. If there's any question you'd like me to, I will be happy to respond.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Andrea, for being in time for the nice presentation. If you come back again over one slide, I think that it has a lot of inspirational aspects. Yes, no, the other one in which you have synthesized the results. So we can see that okay, we have had a change situation that at the end has been turned to an opportunity, and these are all the benefits that you have gained, and I think your experience is very great for us. Thank you, Andrea. I have a question related to the, you have talked about the cohesion meeting. So okay, cohesion meeting has been probably has been done between people of the same organization, people of the same office, people of the same environment. Have you find something that is able to reproduce the serendipity of meet someone casually? That is something that to me miss a lot, because okay, when I go to the coffee, if I go with the same people, I have the same networking. I cannot improve my networking. But if I go there and I know someone that was I have never met, how do you was you able to do something in these aspects, or are you thinking to something in these aspects? Because it's something that for me is very important, just to improve your networking.
In a nutshell, we cannot replace the coffee breaks. I mean, the real coffee. So, I mean, for me, the coffee break is the real networking. I mean, it's really like or rather, I mean, it's the most creative part of the networking. So I've been missing, and as well, I mean, it's not matter. It's not a question of generation. I mean, it's a question of really who works in networks and well knows how much is important, I mean, to a coffee break, how much is important to exchange few words with another person that you met for the very first time. Now, what we did, of course, I mean, there is something else is about the online meetings. Online meetings are always scheduled. So at the end of the day, it's something that it happens on a schedule. It doesn't happen by chance. Instead, I mean, these informal meetings happen by chance during the traditional, the live in presence events. Now, what we did is that we have been able to push somehow the online tool for B2B meetings between people that never met before, even though I have to say that it wasn't successful as in presence B2B meetings.
The cough time in presence, not the same efficacy. Yes. Okay.
I remember that in 2019 we had Water Innovation Europe. That was, I mean, this gathering for the new projects, and in a couple of hours we planned. And this was, I mean, presence. We planned 250 B2B meetings, lasting 15 minutes each. So it was, I mean, a number of rooms that people met for 15 minutes, exchanging, making business. I mean, it was really fast and furious. And then you could see a lot of people finishing the meetings, going to the coffee break, and starting new meetings that were not scheduled. So that is something that cannot be really replaced. We tried with some substitution, some replacement to simulate this, I mean, random happenings of meeting between people that do not know one another. But we're going back to really to the normal settings in terms of, particularly in terms of networking and B2B meetings. On 31st, let's say on 30th of March, we're going to have the first networking dinner final after 2 years. And on 31st, we're going to have, after 2 years, the first Water Market Europe once again. That will be a full B2B and networking meeting for business.
Oh, okay. Okay, there is a question by Francesco. In consideration of a new scenario, what were the EC response time for your planning review requests, and what for the refinancing?
Well, it's a good question. Let me say that the European Commission, from the point of view of, I mean, the European Commission was not concerned about finance, because at the end of the day, because of the pandemic, so we spent much less. We got all the budget for travels, all the budget for demo site that had to be implemented in the real life. We didn't spend that money. The partners didn't spend that money. The European Commission has been, I have to say, very much flexible in rescheduling the activities to the possible extent. And this also means also rescheduling the distribution of the budget. And I have to say that their capacity of reaction was pretty quick. And another indicator is that the European Commission, it is not that most of the time it's not so quick. I mean, it's a big institution, so it's also understandable that they might take time in responding. But I have to say that during the COVID-19 crisis, the European Commission was pretty quick in deciding. What I can see now is that we are going back to normality. The long-time bureaucracy is coming back again, and the response is becoming a bit slower than during the COVID-19 crisis. But nevertheless, I mean, we have been coping well with this situation, and also the European Commission has been able to go through a very, very difficult times, also because it's difficult to manage hundreds, thousands of projects distributed, I mean, all across Europe with thousands of partners in any way, let's say, in a decent manner.
Okay, the time is expired. I want to launch a little feedback survey. In the meantime, that I thanks Andrea Rubini for its talk. It was very interesting, a very interesting experience. We have gained a lot of information. We will get a lot of information by Andrea. Thank you, Andrea, and thank you to all participants for being with us in this lunchtime. So unfortunately we do not have the next appointment. They will be in April. We are scheduling two appointments, but we have not yet fixed. So stay tuned. We will announce very quickly the next two webinar of the series at lunch with NIC. So thank you to all for the participation. Thank you, Andrea, and have a nice day.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.